Shalom, shalom. Once again, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to no other than Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah HaKadosh. Double honor to the apostles and elders of GMS, Great Millstone. Peace and salutation to the elect that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. I spoke in His word in sincerity and in truth. Shalom. This is Brother Ira from GMS Guyana. Back again with a quick in transit video, right? So if you're here, I can just quote the precepts, right? So in this video, what I want to get into is digital ID for every Guyanese citizen, right? Digital ID for every Guyanese citizen, right? And this means adults and children, babies as the born, will be issued the digital ID, right? And there's the hot topic, in the chat right now, and among brothers, right? But the average citizen, the everyday so-called Guyanese, they ain't talking about this, them and saying nothing, them and asking no question or anything. They just, hey, whatever the government going to do, the government going to do, right? And this is information that was been out a while. They had planned since 2 years ago for do it in 2024. 2024 it didn't happen, but in 2025 they start rolling it out, right? So they make an announcement this week that it would start in the next 2 weeks. Everything is in place for start issuing these digital IDs in the next 2 weeks, right? And of course, it will be mandatory, right? It will be mandatory. So the President Irfan Ali, he was the first person to register and the first person to receive the digital ID, right? So hey, this thing, it's and Guyana is not the only place that's doing this. I think it's 192 countries, 108 or something, either got a digital ID system or working towards it rapidly. So this is something that is going on, worldwide, right? And we know that, hey, this is leading you, conditioning the people, the population mind, straight to the M, to the O, to the T, to the B, straight to the mark, Revelation 13, right? 15 and 16, right? So this is leading, conditioning the people's minds, leading straight there, right? And well, as I said, the citizens, they're just going about their everyday life. Nobody's talking about it. Just around brothers. So whatever the government going to do, you're going to do, right? So hey, them a key. And it with the MOTB, it's going to be just like that. Because what it's saying is that let me just play this. So I asked Gemini. It says, will the Guyana digital ID be for all citizens, adults and children? So we can just take a listen to this and hear what Gemini got to say, right?
Citizens, the specifics regarding children and the age at which they can apply for the digital ID are less clear from public statements. However, the Digital Identity Card Bill of 2023 mandates the registration of citizens aged 14 and over. This suggests that the initial rollout may be focused on this age group and older. In summary, the goal is to have a digital ID system that covers everyone in Guyana, but the rollout may be phased, with a particular focus on those aged 14 and above.
Let me just play it back.
According to information from Guyanese government sources and news reports, Guyana's new digital ID system is intended for all citizens and legal residents. Here's a breakdown of what the
Good, so it is available for all citizens and legal residents, right? So once you come to Guyana to work, you know, or to spend a long time that you need to do business, if you come for open a business, you know, you will also need to have a digital ID. So the government plan is to not only give digital ID to citizens, but to foreigners also that come into the country to spend a certain amount of time, right?
Available information suggests. For all citizens, President Dr. Irfan Ali has stated that the single electronic identification system is a new digital ID for all citizens. Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo has also said that every Guyanese will receive an electronic ID card. For legal residents, the official Digital Identity Card Registry website states that all Guyanese citizens and legal residents are eligible to apply for a digital identity card. Mandatory for all, the digital ID is eventually expected to be mandatory.
And this is the word right there, mandatory for all, right? And this is how also the MOTB system is going to be mandatory for all. Now there are some countries that already roll out the digital ID, and without a digital ID you can't do no banking nor no business with the government and so forth. So in Guyana it is going to be the same. A lot of people that refuse to take this, then they can get locked out of the bank accounts and thing, right? Now, will the enforcement, I know how exactly the enforcement can be. If they can say, well, hey, they give everybody up to a certain time to get this digital ID, and if you register, if you can get this digital ID within a certain time, you wouldn't be able to transact no business, you wouldn't be able to go into the banks, you wouldn't be able to receive your cash grant and so forth, right? So it will be mandatory. So we know exactly what they can use to be a punishment for if you don't have it, but something will be put in place, right?
For all citizens and foreigners.
Maybe your bank account might be suspended till you get it, you know? You might gotta show your ID when you go to pay a bill and all these things, right? Here we go on.
It will be required for services like opening bank accounts and employment, children and minors. While the digital ID system is for all citizens, the specifics regarding children and the age at which they can apply for the digital ID are less clear from public statements. However, the Digital Identity Card Bill of 2023 mandates the registration of citizens aged 14 and over. This suggests that the initial rollout may be focused on this age group and older. In summary, the goal is to have a digital ID system that covers everyone in Guyana, but the rollout may be phased, with a particular focus on those aged 14 and above.
Good. So, hey, these are the starting it with those aged 14 and above, but eventually it will go to every single Guyanese citizen, right? Now, for those that listen to these videos, right, just understand me clear. A digital ID is not the MOTB, right? A digital ID is not the mark in Revelation chapter 13 for 16 and 17. But a digital ID is one step closer to the mark, A digital ID is conditioning the people's minds, to go towards the mark, towards the MOTB. So you receiving a digital ID is now you receiving the MOTB, right? Because what the scripture says in Revelation, it says I can just quote it off the top of my head. Revelation 13 and verse 15, it says, and he caused it all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, that no man may buy or sell, saving he that had this mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Right? So receiving the MOTB would be you putting something under your skin, right? Or in your forehead, whether it be in your arms, whether it be in your legs, wherever, right? And you got it, scripture says you gotta use it for buy, or sell, right? So receiving this digital ID wouldn't be receiving the mark, right? But it is your government, and the rulers of this world, preparing your mind towards this, right? And once digital ID comes, guess what? Next thing can be what? Digital currency, right? And as we've been breaking it down in the streets, weekend and week out, is that your leaders first can receive it. The governments, the cabinet, the higher ups. Then you can go to the police and the soldiers. Then eventually the public servants, and then straight to the private sector and the regular citizen. So hey, this is good information, right? That we see coming out. And as I said before, it's not in Guyana alone, but it's also going on throughout the world. Throughout the world, countries catching up. Another thing that going on rapidly in Guyana too is this let me say this before. The digital ID, it was confirmed by the Vice President Barjagdeo that the digital ID will have a RFID chip in it, right? It will have a RFID chip in it. Now, would there be a penalty if you're on the road without your digital ID? It could happen, right? It could happen. They could pass a law that every citizen must have the digital ID in their possession at all times, right? So let me see what's gonna happen. Now, a next thing that is going on rapidly throughout Guyana is they're setting up cameras, all over this place, all over, everywhere, in the towns, in the country, in the small streets, in the ghetto, in the hinterland, all over they're setting up, camera system. So most things you see happening right now, if an accident happen, a shooting or what, these people got it on camera because they got cameras set up all over the place, right? And this even linking straight to the digital ID too, because these with these cameras and face recognition and thing, they're gonna be able to monitor the citizens more, And with having digital ID, guess what? The government now could be in everybody's business. Every transaction, every time you go to the bank, every time you take out the money, every time you put in money, you know, anything that you got to use the digital ID to do, the government got the information. And just like what they're doing in China right now, they could even lock you out of the system by terminating your digital ID or even suspending it for a period of time. You know, if you attack against the government or what, they could suspend your digital ID, so you can't really transact no business nor do anything, you know, lock you out of the system. And as I said before, and I can say it again, all of this is preparing the everyday average citizens to receive this mark. Right? One of the things it's saying too is that citizens with the digital ID will have benefits and force preference towards the cash grant that the government plans to share out in December. So one of the things that I see them doing is in the next 2 weeks, which it should be like about a week and 3 or 4 days, in the next 7 to 8 days, when this ID start rolling out, they're gonna say, well, hey, those with a digital ID will get their cash grant for Christmas. You know Jake and the Christmas, Jake is one go all in, right? So who received the digital ID will get the money in time for Christmas. So you know Jake gonna flood them lines, right? The scripture says in 2 Corinthians 2 and verse 11, right? It says, "Be not ignorant of Satan devices," right? So hey, this basically, you know, we're going on in Guyana right now. You know, hot topic, right? So with that, just want to give our praise and glory to Yahweh B'Hashem Yoshai B'Hashem Kakodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of GMS, great millstone, and peace and salutation to you, brothers. That's portion is word in sincerity and in truth. Shalom. Until next time.